Have you noticed something strange lately? Maybe a flicker of the lights during a summer heat wave or an alert on your phone warning about potential power outages. It's not just you. Across the United States, the electric grid, a marvel of 20th century engineering, is starting to show its age. The simple act of keeping the lights on is becoming a monumental challenge. Why is this happening, and what does it mean for our future? Let's travel back in time. For most of the last century, the American grid was a symbol of reliability. Power plants were built, transmission lines were strung across the country, and electricity flowed predictably to our homes and businesses. The system was designed for a world with consistent, predictable demand and a steady supply from large, centralized power plants, mostly running on coal, natural gas, and nuclear energy. It was a one-way street, power generated, transmitted, and consumed. Simple, right, but the world has changed, and our grid hasn't quite caught up. One of the biggest shifts is the weather. Climate change is fueling more extreme weather events than ever before. We're seeing record-breaking heat waves in places like Texas and California, brutal winter storms like the one that paralyzed the South a few years back, and more frequent and intense hurricanes and wildfires. Each of these events puts an incredible strain on the grid. During a heat wave, everyone cranks up their air conditioning at the same time, causing demand to skyrocket. Ice storms can weigh down power lines until they snap, while wildfires can destroy critical infrastructure in minutes. The grid was built for the climate of the past, not the volatile reality of today. At the same time, the way we generate electricity is undergoing a massive transformation. We're moving away from fossil fuels and embracing renewable energy sources like solar and wind. This is fantastic news for the planet, but it introduces a new kind of challenge for grid operators: intermittency. The sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. Unlike a coal plant that can run 24/7, renewable energy sources are variable. This means that grid operators have to perform a complex balancing act, constantly matching the fluctuating supply from renewables with the ever-changing demand from consumers. Imagine trying to fill a bathtub with 100 different faucets, all turning on and off at random times. That's the challenge they face every single day. Compounding this issue is the age of the grid itself. Much of our transmission infrastructure, the high-voltage lines that act as the highways of our electrical system, was built over 50 years ago. These lines are getting old, less efficient, and more prone to failure. Think of it like trying to run a modern city's traffic on a network of old country roads. It creates bottlenecks, wastes energy, and is simply not equipped to handle the new demands being placed on it. We need to build new transmission lines to connect renewable energy sources, which are often located in remote, sunny, or windy areas, to the cities where the power is needed most. But building new lines is incredibly difficult. It involves navigating a maze of permits, land rights, and local opposition, a process that can take a decade or more for a single project. This transmission jam is one of the single biggest hurdles to a clean and reliable energy future. Another huge factor is the changing nature of demand. Our lives are becoming more and more electrified. We're switching to electric vehicles, installing electric heat pumps, and using more power-hungry electronics than ever before. Data centers, the backbone of our digital world, consume enormous amounts of electricity. All of this adds up to a massive increase in overall demand. So, at the very moment our supply is becoming more variable and our transmission system is strained, our appetite for electricity is growing exponentially. It's a perfect storm of challenges. So, what happens when supply can't meet demand? Grid operators have a few tools to prevent a total system collapse. They can import power from neighboring regions if it's available. They can ask large industrial customers to temporarily reduce their usage, but as a last resort, they are forced to implement rolling blackouts, intentionally cutting power to different areas for short periods to shed load and stabilize the grid. This is the can't keep the lights on scenario that is becoming increasingly common. It's not just an inconvenience. It can be life-threatening, especially for vulnerable populations during extreme weather. So, what's the solution? There is no single silver bullet. It requires a multi-pronged approach. First, we need to invest heavily in modernizing our grid. This means replacing old equipment, building thousands of miles of new high-voltage transmission lines, and making the grid smarter. A smart grid uses digital technology to better monitor energy flows, predict problems, and reroute power automatically to prevent outages. It's about upgrading those old country roads into a futuristic superhighway system. Second, we need a massive expansion of energy storage. The key to solving the intermittency of renewables is to store excess energy when the sun is shining and the wind is blowing, and then release it when they're not. Large-scale battery storage is a leading technology here. We're seeing huge battery farms being built that can store enough energy to power thousands of homes for several hours. This technology is a game changer, turning variable renewables into a firm, reliable source of power. Third, we need to be smarter about how we use energy. This is where concepts like demand response come in. Smart appliances, like thermostats and EV chargers, can be programmed to automatically reduce their energy consumption during peak hours when the grid is most stressed. This helps to flatten the demand curve, making it easier for grid operators to maintain balance. It's not about using less energy overall, but about being more flexible about when we use it. Finally, policy and regulation need to catch up. We need to streamline the permitting process for new transmission lines and renewable energy projects. We need market rules that properly value things like energy storage and demand flexibility. This requires a coordinated effort from federal, state, and local governments to clear the roadblocks and accelerate our transition to a 21st century grid. The challenge is immense, but so is the opportunity. Building a modern, clean, and resilient grid is one of the great infrastructure projects of our time. It will create jobs, improve air quality, and ensure that we have the reliable power we need to fuel our economy and our lives for decades to come. The era of cheap, easy, and thoughtless electricity might be over. But in its place, we can build a smarter, cleaner, and more resilient energy future. The lights might flicker from time to time on the journey there, but the destination is a brighter one for all of us. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown of our energy challenges interesting, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the technologies and systems that shape our world. See you next time.